All right, guys, welcome to PacWest Bigfoot. And our interview this week, we'll be interviewing Vince from New Mexico here shortly. Real quick, updating you guys. We have this awesome mug to give away for the free giveaway this month and a shirt to go with it with the same print on it. So, and we want to say thank you to our fans out there at folkloresupply.com for that. You guys are awesome out there. We look forward to giving away some of these things and actually getting you guys over there. Get over there. They also sent me this personally, just so you guys see this. I went and got one of these right here, and I grabbed myself a couple shirts as well. So get out to folkloresupply.com. All right. So it's pretty awesome. With that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Vince. Vince, you there, buddy?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Vince is from New Mexico. And Vince actually has one awesome encounter experience. And also, he's had some other things after he's returned to that area. So I'm going to let you take this over and kind of tell us, what you were doing that day, what exactly happened, what you saw, what you heard, or anything you smelled, and everything that happened that day. So, be colorful here. Tell us everything, where you were at, what you were doing, time of day, all that stuff. So I'll let you take it over. Go for it, man.
Okay. This was, it happened late July 2016, last summer. School was just about to start up, so me and my kids wanted to go on one last camping trip, before they had to head back to school.
Mm-hmm.
So I had worked the night before. I worked the night shift. I got off in the morning. We packed up everything, and we headed out to the Jemez Mountains, which is about an hour and a half north of where I live. So we drove out there early in the morning, and we set up camp. Well, let me back up. We headed up the mountain, and they have several camping areas, but everything was full. I guess everyone had the same idea as us. So we kept going further up the mountain, and they have a lake, Fenton Lake, and that was also full. So when I went to turn around, the forest ranger stopped me. It was a young lady, very helpful, and she told me if I wanted to camp, I could do primitive camping. She told me there was a forest road up off the right, about quarter mile. She said I could go there and, just pick a spot anywhere and just camp, but we'd have to make our own campsite.
Mm-hmm.
But that was fine. We wouldn't have no neighbors. It'd be nice and quiet. So we went up that road. We drove back maybe a mile or two, and there was scattered neighbors here and there, but nothing too close. We found a nice spot. We set up camp, and I laid down to take a nap for a while. And the kids, they were chopping wood, getting ready to make dinner and stuff. But then later in the evening, it started raining. So we all got into the tent, and we just waited it out. And maybe around 8:30, the rain finally quit. We got out of the tent, and we went to make a late dinner. So we started up the campfire, and we started grilling. I think we had chicken. We all ate. We sat around the fire, just joking back and forth about how nice it would be to have a cabin up there. And it was myself, my 18-year-old son, my 16-year-old daughter, and her friend from school. And I'd say around 10:30, the two girls decided to call it a night, so they went into the tent, and they went to sleep or went to bed. And me and my son just stood around the campfire, just, we're taking it all in. It was beautiful. It was nice and fresh. It had just rained. And I guess about 11 o'clock, I started seeing things. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought it was a red reflector, like you see, on the side of a road.
Yeah.
But then I would look over and I couldn't see it. And, all we had was the campfire going. So, and then out of the corner of my eye again, I would see it again. But when I would turn, it was gone. So, I didn't pay much attention. I was new to the area. I thought maybe there was a road back there, and once in a while the light from the fire would hit it just right and I'd see it. But we just continued to sit around the campfire and talk, and I'm guessing around 11:30 we just heard something. I'm guessing not more than 20, 30 yards away scream. It was the loudest scream I ever heard in my life. And it was almost like a human scream, like he was yelling at us or something.
Hmm.
But it was so loud. It gave me goosebumps, and I turned to my son, and I didn't know what else to say. I asked him, "What was that? Was that a dog or what was that?" And he looked at me, and I could see the fear in his eyes. He said, "No, Dad, I don't think that was a dog." So we both stood up and looked around. We didn't see nothing. And probably about 10 minutes later, on the other side of the camp, we heard footsteps,
Hmm.
and you could hear him walking through the brush, and we actually heard. I want to say it was like talking, but
Hmm.
it was like a deep mumble, and it walked. I'd say a good 10, 15 seconds, mumbling blah, 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 like that, and at the end it kind of did a little like that, and we just looked at each other, and I've always wanted to believe, but I'm one of the kind of guys that I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
But at that minute, I knew it couldn't be anything else. But anyway, this continued for a good hour. They were just walking around the camp, and probably about an hour later, one of them, we could hear him walking, getting farther away. And what would happen was, like, every 10 or 15 minutes, we could hear him shaking a tree, and then he would smack the tree with a tree limb or a stick or something. And I think they were going back and forth. I don't know if they were communicating their location,
Hmm.
but one of them stood outside the camp at all time because we could hear it walking around. And
So there was two of
this
them.
one, yeah, there was two, at least two, the ones we could hear. And it moved fast because it got a good distance away. We could hear it. And it never occurred to me to try to record anything because uh, I'm not going to lie, every muscle in my body was trembling. That's how scared I was.
Hmm.
And then it finally dawned on me. I asked my son if he had his phone because we didn't have no cell phone service there, so I didn't have my cell phone on me. And he did. So I told him to turn it on and try to record something. But we tried back and forth, and I think he caught a little something.
Hmm.
But when this one got further away, I think the campers maybe half a mile away heard it because I heard one of them get out of their camper. We could see the light on their camper, and he yelled. He goes, "Hey!" And then that thing turned around and it started coming back because it started getting closer again.
Hmm.
So what we did, I woke up my daughter and her friend, and I told them, "Wake up! You need to hear this." So the first thing one of them yelled, and the first thing her friend said was, "Oh my God, I heard that. What is it?" So I told them what I thought it was, and then we all got up. We were standing out by a campfire, and that one that was further away kept coming closer and closer. I mean, they were so close we could hear the footsteps. So
Jeez.
I told them, I'll leave it to you guys. When you feel uncomfortable, we'll leave. So things they got so close. The kid said, "We're ready to go now." And
Hmm.
my daughter has a little Chihuahua, and that thing's usually full of fire, ready to fight anybody. But all this dog was doing was crying. So I mean, I didn't smell anything like the smells associated, but all I could smell was the rain. So
Yeah.
we got in the pickup. We abandoned camp. We left everything in the tent. We took off down the road, down the mountain, and they have these spots where you could pull over and park and fish.
Hmm.
And we stood there. Nobody slept. We stood there till the sun started coming up. Then we went back and we packed up the tent, all our supplies, and we left. We came home, and I remember I didn't have no sleep, so I was gonna lay down for a while and try to get some sleep, but I couldn't sleep. I mean, I was going through the events of the night over and over, and
Hmm.
I said to myself, I'm never going to the mountains again, never. And I
No way.
never take a weapon. Yeah, I never take a weapon with me, so I was scared for my kids. The only thing I carry is a little can of pepper spray we take when we go hiking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess,
People have asked me that before. Can a pepper spray keep a Bigfoot away? I think so. I think it's probably just as irritating to them as it is just about any other creature or being on this planet. It's probably pretty irritating enough to at least slow them down to get out of there, get to safety.
Right. Well, we've seen like coyotes and stuff, and I've never expected to run into anything that big or anything like that, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And you
but
were saying that you had seen this thing?
I just seen the eye shine, and that's what I
Okay.
thought was reflector. But like
Yeah.
I said, all we had was the campfire light, so
Mhm.
it would stay just far enough or outside. It's a pretty thick area,
Yeah.
so we could just hear the walking through the brush,
Okay.
and
All right.
they were definitely yelling and making noises. It was
Wow.
strange, but
Wow.
that reminded me of a story. I met. I play a game online. I play games, and you could pick opponents. And I met a girl from here in Albuquerque, and she told me a story that she went camping a few years ago, but her and her sister couldn't sleep because of the Bigfoots yelling. And when she told me that, I thought, really? But
Wow.
I never thought much about it until that night. But anyway, we came back home, and I laid down. I was going to get some sleep, and I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep till that night actually. And I didn't tell nobody about it till the following day. I called my brother and told him about it.
Mhm.
And it took him about a week to convince me to take him back to that spot.
So he was
So
really interested, and he believed what you were talking about.
oh yeah, he believed me because we both know people, credible people, who said they've had sightings or encounters. So he's like me; he wants to see it for himself.
Okay.
So I finally agreed to take him, but I told him we'll go and we could have dinner, we'll cook out of it, but I'm not staying the night. I told him that. So he said,
You're like,
okay,
not staying the
yeah, yeah.
night.
We went up there, and it was strange because as soon as the sun went down, we're cooking dinner, we're grilling something, and we heard a tree snap, and I just saw his eyes get wide. And I told him, "You heard that, right?" He's like, "Yeah," but I guess we had a neighbor that time, maybe a quarter mile away. I guess they heard it too, so they started shooting off a gun, and after that, everything went quiet. So
Jeez.
we stood around, we ate dinner, and I guess around 10:30 at night, I heard whistling coming from the trees, and
Like
we're
up in the
like,
trees,
"What?"
or just from out in the forest part where you were
Well,
at?
yeah, from out in the forest, just
Mhm.
beyond where we could see, but it was real faint whistling, and
Okay. Yeah, because some
my
people tell me
daughter,
it's like you hear those people saying, "Oh, it was way up in the tree." Yeah, I don't know if an 800-pound thing is going to be standing on limbs like that. That could be a little
yeah,
much, personally
no,
speaking.
no, it was from beyond the trees. It wasn't up in the trees,
Mm.
but I heard a whistling, and then me and my brother were talking about it, and my daughter came up and she's asking, "What are we talking about?" And I told her I heard a whistle, and I whistled like that to show her what I heard, and I got a response. It whistled back. So
How far away do you
everybody's
think
eyes.
that was?
It was such a faint whistle. It could have been like maybe 30, 40 yards.
Okay.
But that was pretty much all the activity we had that night. So what we did was we had an old tree stump we were sitting on. We
Hmm.
left all the leftover food there on the
Hmm.
tree stump, and then we packed up and left. And we went back the following weekend, and we just went for a day trip so we could hike and maybe look around a little bit. And we went back to where we left the food, and there was a track. It was very hard to see because there was like I guess it's grass, it's the weeds. Half of it was in the plant, and half of it was in the mud. But you could definitely see toes and stuff.
Hmm.
And that was our last trip because they lock everything up during the winter, just because it gets so bad up there.
Yeah.
But we're getting ready to go back here shortly.
Hmm. That is
Yeah, but
interesting. And you
yeah.
so you just went back that one time?
Well, we went back twice. The time we cooked the food, and the second back time we went back for the hike when we found the print.
Okay. All right.
But that's we haven't been back there since last summer.
Huh. That is, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
know what I
all
would do when it came down to like my kids being around that.
yeah, and that's what scared me the most.
Yeah, Yeah, that is that's a lot to handle.
Yeah, and after that happened, I really got on the internet and I searched, for other people's encounters, and there's quite a few up in the Jemez Mountains. And actually, that's how I came upon your channel and your site.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
but
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. Um,
yeah.
so are you doing any sort of like research kind of stuff today? I mean, are you going out in the field doing any sort of research or anything like that?
Well, we are going to. My brother wants to go hike up the mountain where we were. We're
Hmm.
camping on top of the mountain, but there's still another peak. And I've actually went as far as to go to like Google Earth or those where they have the satellite vision,
Hmm.
and I could find the campsite. And I looked around on top of the mountain, and it's just, I mean, there's some interesting, I guess, tree formations. How I don't know if they fell or they're placed like that.
Hmm.
Just you know, interesting that I'd like to go check out. So we're gonna go, and I've actually bought one of those FLIR cameras for the smartphone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this
Nice.
we still got a lot of investigating to do that we'd like to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only thing I need to get in order is my courage.
No, I think yeah, there's people out here, man. They go out there and they really do think that this is some sort of friendly forest creature or something. And um, I think we really need to be careful while we're out there and doing our research to be armed with something or another. I think it's a good idea.
Right?
I know
I
I do.
agree.
I'll never go out there. I don't even go out camping out there without being armed because you never know. It might not be a Bigfoot. It could be a person. I mean, it could be anything out there. So
Yeah, correct.
always be safe. So yeah.
Yes, and like I said, I've been camping, fishing my whole life, and I've never taken a weapon. I've never, but things are
Mhm.
different now.
So with both these times going out there, do you think this is actually like maybe more of what they call the habituation site? Maybe there's some sort of, I mean, could you tell in like the voices, I mean, that maybe one was female, one was male, or one was older, one was younger, bigger, smaller? Could you tell any of that?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I thought maybe the first one was female, the first yell we had, because it was a lot higher pitched.
Okay.
And then the other one that we heard that was doing the talking,
Hmm.
the only way I could describe that is like if you would see a movie with a caveman mumbling,
Hmm.
that's kind of what it reminded me of. But his voice was really low, low, low.
And you
It
could
was
hear
just,
that, so it couldn't be that far away. I mean,
no, it was close. I mean, it was close enough we could hear the footsteps, and it was crazy.
you could hear the footsteps. Oh my gosh.
We,
So that's got to be
yeah,
like
because
10, 20, less than 30 yards away, probably.
yeah, well, like I said, the eye shine that we saw first that I thought was a reflector, that was very close. It was maybe 20. It could be more than 20, 25 yards away.
And how high off
And
the ground do you think that those eyes were? How tall do you think this thing was?
that, it's hard to say because I looked at those trees during the day, and it was at least 6 feet off the ground. I'm just guessing,
Hmm.
but I've heard of these things that they'll crouch down behind a tree and hide and peek out. So who knows how tall it really was?
Yeah, it could have been halfway bent over. It could have been, you know.
It could it could have been down on all fours. And we didn't hear a peep. We didn't hear them sneak up on us or anything until that one let out that first scream.
Oh, that must have
It
been like loud.
it it, it, it was an eye opener.
Oh
And
wow.
to this day, my son's 19 now. I can't get him to go back up there.
No.
No, he says no.
I
I'm a
mean,
city boy.
there's you could always go up there during the day, perhaps, and do some investigating, check out for any sort of maybe get some castings, footprints, gosh, it could be just about anything. I mean, you could do a lot of research during the day. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, go up at night, try to get that encounter. But there's nothing wrong with collecting like real hard evidence through casts and hair and whatnot.
Yes, yes. And that's why I got my FLIR camera. I'm hoping to catch something that way, because
Yeah.
if I had it that night, they were that close, I would have caught something.
Yeah, there
And
was probably some sort of heat signatures going on up there.
yeah, and I don't believe, the way they snuck up on us, I don't believe we could go out into the forest and sneak up on them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's their home. That's why
Yeah.
I like the idea of us just going out there camping, hiking, and doing what we do, and maybe attracting them toward us.
I think that's how it works too. It's kind of like gorillas. I mean, they tell us that we can walk right by a gorilla in the bush. I mean, you just within feet and not even know it's there.
Yes.
And I think that more people have walk by these things, and we actually are. I think that we come across these things a whole lot more than we think.
Yes,
And I
I
think
believe
it's
so.
because I don't think that they're there to, like to attack us, or they're predatory in any way like that. I think that they are protective. I think that they're territorial. I think that they could be, as far as young is concerned, like a mama bear and a papa bear or whatever. It could be that kind of incident that causes any, maybe we're getting too close to something. They get up, they walk off. And somebody was asking me earlier in a live YouTube, why did the big, Patty from the Patterson Gimlin film walk off in a long way instead of just walking shooting off this way? Well, what they were saying was that there was maybe young, they said there was some young over here, one or two other younger baby or, younger Bigfoot over here, and she was trying to distract them and take them this way, and that's why she went in the lengthy way, and that's how they got that. They were lucky enough to get that kind of footage. uh,
Yeah,
I totally buy that. I do.
yeah, I do too.
If you're having one there, I'm thinking that maybe there was young nearby, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm thinking they were just trying to scare us off,
Yeah.
because we were there. If they wanted to attack us, we would have been easy picking just sitting there. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what I'm
I
thinking. It's like they could pick us
yeah,
off anytime, man, if they wanted to, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think they were just letting us know they were there, and if they wanted us out of there, they achieved their goal. They got us out of there.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Whew. That's cool. Cool but creepy.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I was really scared for a long time, but now I'm not obsessed. I'm just interested. I want to know more, and I got to prove to myself that I'm not crazy.
that's pretty much how I am. I with my own experiences finding prints with my mom, hearing my mom's, kind of hearing screams and stuff, and then having an incident one night up here in Southern Oregon, and that's kind of what I've been doing. That's kind of why I did all this. Was I just really enjoy the community and really wanted to get out there and kind of just figure things out, I guess, for myself.
Yes, yes, and
So,
where I work, I work in a rural area, and there's a lot of it's a small town. A lot of they're into rodeo. They got the big trucks. They're
mhm.
all hunters, and I told my story to a couple of my friends, and of course they're like, "Man, you're crazy. I've hunted my whole life and I've never seen anything." And I told them, you know what? Just because you haven't seen them doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah, I mean, they're hunting. They've got guns in their hands.
Right,
Are these things, intelligent enough to understand weapons or things that can hurt them? I think so.
right. I think so too. Well, I think they've seen hunters and they know what they're capable of, so
Yeah.
they steer clear of them.
Yeah, I mean, what makes an animal more highly intelligent than the next one? It's how it can learn. It's the process of learn behavior. So they kind of have this behavior of like, there's a person in the woods, and so I need to either hunker down or grab my young and go, or grab my food and go, or just stay where I'm at, and hopefully they don't come by. I think it's kind of just learned behavior, learned
Yes,
instincts.
yes.
So, that's my take on that. So so your oldest boy, he's not wanting to go out. What about your wife or the other kids?
No, it's just myself. I have three kids.
Hmm.
My oldest, he's 24. He does his own thing, but he told me he'd like to go with us up there. And my daughter, she's ready to go back. She's just as curious as I am.
You got to remember these young people, man. They're all watching Finding Bigfoot, so they're running around with Bobo in them, thinking it might be a friendly giant. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
make sure you educate them. Be like, I wouldn't be doing that. It's like,
Yes,
no, play a
yeah,
couple 411 tapes for them first before they go.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
always a good thing to do. But awesome, yeah, man. As you do your research and everything out here, I'd like to hear more about this. Anything
I will definitely be in
like
touch,
that.
especially if we really come up with some evidence. You'll be
Yeah,
the first I contact.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I love. Yeah, oh, that was interesting. That would be so creepy. It's like, oh man. See, when we camp. It's like big fat tents, or we're in a cabin or something like that. It's not like old school like that. So.
Yeah, and we were back. The road is barely passable. We were back way deep in the thick of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't think most people understand that the mountains up around in New Mexico and stuff they're very forested. I mean, there's trees. You know.
It's well, where I am, where it's called high desert. So
Yeah.
I mean, we got the timberline, and up in the Jemez, there's plenty of deer, elk. They've got lakes and streams. There's plenty of food.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much a forest. So I've been through New Mexico before, and yeah, we went through. We took 10 east back, but we would float off and go up north and whatnot. And I mean, it was just high desert forest. We have that kind of style here in parts of eastern Oregon, like the Klamath Falls
Uh-huh.
area and stuff like that. It's kind of that high desert there, and there's a forest line there. There's this line where it's like nice and kind of grassy and deserty looking, but then all of a sudden it's like there's this line and it's just forest and bush. So,
Right.
you know. So, yeah, everybody asked me to like, well, what do you think about Bigfoot being in Arizona? And I'm thinking, maybe not in the middle of the desert, but you get up to the northern parts of the state and you get up into those mountainous areas where it's all forested. Why not?
Ye-
It's a
yes.
perfect
Yes.
habitat. It's almost the same habitat as it would be here. Here is just colder and wetter. That's all.
Yes. And I'm originally from a smaller town that's west of where I'm at,
Hmm.
and it's close to the Arizona border. And as you go north into Arizona, it's forest. And I've heard a lot of stories. I was a food vendor, so I'd go up there and deliver, and a lot of the natives would tell me stories up there.
Oh wow! So any really cool stories that you can share real quick with us?
You know what? I've just heard so many about. They've actually seen them killing cattle.
Oh wow! Any
But
ones stand out in your mind?
well, I was going to tell you a story
Go ahead.
about my father. My father.
Hmm.
I work. Well, I guess I could say I work in a coal mine, so we're off in the boonies. And I worked with my father there until he retired. When I was away at the Navy, he had a vigil on the way home from work, and I didn't know about it till I had moved back to New Mexico. But my mom was telling me about it. She said one night my dad came home from work, and my dad, he was this tough coal miner, loud booming voice, not shy type of guy. But he came home one evening and he didn't say a word. He just went straight to bed. And my mom said he didn't talk to her for like 3 days until she finally asked him what's wrong. And he told her, I saw something. I don't know what it was, but I saw something. I was coming home, and there's a park that he passed. It's called Continental Divide. It's pretty high.
Hmm.
And there was something crossing the road. He said when he came up on it, it was down in the middle of, the two roads. And he thought it was a dog, so he turned on his bright. and he said it stood up and it darted across the road. And on the side of the roads we have fences, and I guess they're a good 3-4 foot high. Well, maybe four or higher. But this thing didn't even break stride. It just stepped right over and kept on trucking. And I guess that my dad was close enough. It really shook him up a bit.
Wow. See,
But I didn't even find out that story till years later. Like I said, I was in the military.
oh, jeez. So that was probably a pretty close encounter there.
Yeah.
Oh man. So any of the stories of the cattle killing or anything like that? Any one of those stand out in your mind that you've heard?
Yes. Yes. Actually, I work with a native guy, and he lives on the reservation, but it's in the forested area. He has a friend that told him about it, and he went to talk to his friend, and he told him that they would run like 2 or 3 groups of them, and he said they're so fast they could run next to like the younger cattle, and they had like a tree almost like a spike made out of wood,
Mm-hmm.
and they would run up and they would just stab the smaller cows and kill them and drag them off.
So they actually used a tool, a weapon.
Yes, they used a tool. And the same person who told me the story, on his phone he has prints, that were made in the snow that he found.
Oh wow.
Up on that person's property.
Huh. Well, we know that chimps and things like that, even gorillas and stuff, use tools basically like sticks into an anthill, or they throw rocks and they throw sharper sticks and stuff like that. So
yes.
I wouldn't doubt that at all. That's
you don't
hear that very often.
Yes. Before this happened to me, I've always been curious about it. You see the TV specials or the YouTube videos, but I always take it with a grain of salt, because you never know what you could believe.
Yeah.
But now that I've had my encounter, I work with a lot of Native Americans. I've been asking them, and you'd be surprised how many of them have firsthand experience or else a story that was handed down to them. And
yeah.
My cousin, she's married to a Native man, and he told us a story that his grandmother told him. She said that there was 2 types of Bigfoot, the brown ones and the red ones. He said the brown ones were pretty passive, they're the ones that run away or whatever, but the red ones were the aggressive ones. And his grandmother said that those red ones are the ones that would kill the people.
The littler ones.
Yeah.
So maybe kind of like what I believe there's 2 types. I think there's more of your Patterson kind of Gimlin film one, that very large, huge thing up here that can be violent at times, but I think it's because of encroachment, territorial things and stuff like that. But then there's also the skunk ape, and I think that's something that runs towards the southern parts of the United States, where it's not as hairy, but it can be just as tall. It's a little bit thinner, but pretty close to the same thing. And I think that their interactions seem to be a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more violent from what I can hear and what I understand, especially like reports out of Texas and Florida, where things are just can be a little, in Louisiana, Alabama, all that. Things get a little bit crazy there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I don't know if you agree with me on that or anything, but does.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I still want to do my own research, and I want to find out more.
Yeah.
And also, real quick, we have a free paper, and they do stories. And one time they did stories on Bigfoot up in it's called the Chusca Mountains. It's on the Navajo reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady shared a story. She was home with her grandchildren, and I don't know if it was 1 or 2, but they just kept harassing her, slapping the house, until she finally grabbed up the kids and ran away.
I had something similar to that from outside of Newport, Oregon, up here in the Pacific Northwest near the coast. And that one's going to be out here in about 4 to 6 weeks. It was an encounter story that I got. It's pretty awesome, pretty scary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why. I think it was passing through.
Yeah. Well, mine was scary enough. I don't want them to start slapping my tent. So.
No, slapping a house, I could live with that if I had a gun in the house. Slapping a tent, that's just cloth.
Yes.
That's like
It,
one
it
millimeters between me and it. I'm not feeling too
yeah.
comfortable with that.
It, if you have the chance, go on the internet and look for Bigfoot encounters in the Jemez. There's some interesting stories there as well.
I will. I think with when I send this out to all of you guys, I'll try to in the description on YouTube here. I'll try to put in some links there from some stuff that I find. That would be great. That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's some really good stories there.
Oh, that would be great. That would be so awesome. So, I guess we are coming up on the end here. I want to say thank you, man, for being here, Vince, and just sharing that with us. And as we go along here, whenever you have any new reports, like taking your FLIR camera, and all that, and doing some of your research, if you want to share some of that stuff, I'd love to put it up there on the Facebook page, share it with everybody, and bring you back from time to time just to kind of give us any sort of updates, and maybe if you have any more really cool, awesome stories from the natives, Native Americans around your area, that you could share, that would be great. That would be awesome.
Sure, I would love to.
That'd be sweet. All right. You guys be safe out there, though. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, and hold on one second there, Vince. But for the rest of you here at PacWest Bigfoot, thank you guys very much for listening on in to the interviews here, where we share some of these real life encounters and experiences and everything else from some of you guys out here in the community. Want to say thank you for being here once again, and from the beautiful Pacific Northwest, stay safe out there. Keep on searching, and God bless.